5 years ago now. I was faced with an illness that almost took my life, and was working career, and I just kind of went down this windy path of just trying to get to the next step, just looking at that ladder, and I thought that once I hit that, that's it, and it was just a crashing fall. Diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I was 30 at the time and had my 1-year-old son, but was hospitalized twice within a month and a half, and almost spent that entire time frame in the hospital, and almost lost my life.
Hey everyone, you're now listening to Cup of Queens with Paige and Saray, and today we're talking with Karli Moch, the author of Battle to Breakthrough and Director of Development at BioGirls.
Do you ever fall victim to challenging times? Do you ever wonder what your clear path is? Karli shares with us her personal story of facing chronic illness and how after undergoing 3 life-threatening surgeries, she was able to create her battle into a beautiful breakthrough.
So grab your cup and enjoy.
Okay, well, we're rolling.
Okay.
Well, start off with introducing yourself. Tell us about yourself, who you are, and we're so excited because you brought us a copy of your book, Battle to Breakthrough. So tell us all about it.
I can't wait.
Because I'm so excited to read it.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm super excited to be here. This is awesome. I am Karli Moch. I was born and raised here, so I've been here my whole life. West Fargo, through and through, and now raising my 2 boys there. So didn't move far from the tree, but that's what happens when you come to Fargo. You just fall in love with it. Yeah. So yep, raising my 2 boys. I've got a kindergartner this year and a 2-year-old, both boys. We adopted our second kiddo, so that has been an experience that just has melted our heart, and it's just been a really good addition to our family. So 2 crazy boys at home. By day, I work for the girls. I work for BioGirls, Director of Development there, and get to just help girls build self-esteem. And so I kind of live in my dream out right now. So it's been a good full circle moments over here, like talking about the book. 5 years ago now, I can't believe it's been that long, but was faced with an illness that almost took my life, and was working, we had talked before this, we're just kind of like work, and that's just ingrained in anyone who really has some ambition and goals in your career. And I just kind of went down this windy path of just trying to get to the next step, just looking at that ladder, and I thought that once I hit that, that's it, and it was just a crashing fall. Diagnosed with ulcerative colitis. I was 30 at the time and had my 1-year-old son. And I went to the doctor, and it was like, this is what you have. Here's a script for some pills. Go downstairs and we'll see you in 6 months at a checkup. I was like, I never heard of ulcerative colitis. I have no idea what this is. And then, of course, you Google things, and it doesn't look great. And honestly, from that diagnosis to about 30 days later, I was hospitalized, and never thought that would be me at 30 years old, and really blindsided my husband and I. And my son, thankfully, was young enough to not remember that. I'm very thankful for that. But was hospitalized twice within a month and a half, and almost spent that entire time frame in the hospital, and almost lost my life. And so I had 3 life-saving surgeries, and kind of had that wake-up moment in my life, and kind of led me to where I am now. So,
wow.
Yeah.
So I'm not familiar with what that is. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, so it's similar to Crohn's. A lot of people have heard of Crohn's, at least. Maybe not familiar with it, but it's an autoimmune disease, so chronic illness, which means it has no cure, and it affects the lower GI tract, and it's inflammation, and your body kind of attacks it. And so any autoimmune is kind of your body like thinking there's something that they need to attack, and kind of sends it into overdrive. So the surgeries I had are not typically recommended. It was kind of a Hail Mary, really.
Wow.
So I lived with the first surgery. We removed my entire colon, and I had a temporary stoma. And so an ostomy bag, I mean, it was the biggest wake up. What the hell? Can we swear on here?
Yeah, throw it. Let it fly.
What did I just do? Or like, what happened? Because I mean, I was in so much pain, excruciating pain. So that going down to first surgery, I was like, let's go because I can't go on. And so I woke up feeling the pain released like immediately. I felt 100 times better, even with surgery pain. And then I looked down and I saw my body that had an ostomy bag on it, and then nurses coming in to show me how to take care of it and how to empty it and how to clean it. And I just started bawling. I was just like, oh my God, what is my life right now? Luckily, I was able to have a reverse situation. So not all people get to do that. So I had a series of 3 surgeries. And the third one, they removed it and created like a fake colon, basically.
Wow.
Yeah.
Jeez,
That's
wild.
wild.
Isn't that
So
crazy?
when you had this first surgery and woke up from it,
Yeah.
did you know that reverse surgery was
I did.
Okay.
I did know that, thankfully. But I was so out of it. I mean, I hadn't eaten in 45 days without.
What?
I mean, I was eating applesauce, apple juice, and water.
Oh
I
my
couldn't eat, and I
gosh.
lost 30 pounds in less than a month. It was like do or die, basically. So it was just go time. I didn't really have a moment to think, but waking up, it hit pretty big. Yeah.
I can imagine. And this is all when you are a new mom.
Yes.
Yeah.
And working and just entered your 30s.
Yeah.
So what was kind of that perception shift? Because just hearing you speak about it, I feel like my life is flashing before my eyes,
Yes.
and I'm not even in your shoes. I can't even imagine
Honestly,
what you thought.
I think during like the thick of it, I was very quiet. Which as most people know, that is not my normal being. But I very internalized things, which I didn't think that was how I would react to something like that. Once I came out of it, I think I just had this. It was like I died before I died. It was like that moment of being able to strip away all the things that weren't me. In my 30 years prior, I let the world kind of tell me who I was, and I was able to just strip that away and have that, that moment when like you lose somebody that you love and you're like, that's it. I am taking this trip. I am not taking this for granted. I'm getting healthy. You have all these things, and then the speed of life starts coming back up, and slowly but surely you start to forget those things, and you fall back into habits, and work becomes a priority again, and everything else falls to the wayside, and we lose those memories that taught us the lessons. And I knew right then and there I'd never, ever, ever wanted to forget the darkest times. And so I started writing about it, and I hadn't like journaled, or I wasn't writing since like high school. I always liked it, but I never, processed my feelings that way before. And I started doing that mainly to communicate to my husband, because I could not outwardly say how scared I was. I don't think I could like let myself say it out loud in the moment. And so I would type him notes on my phone and like passive aggressively send him the note. And like, I don't know why I did that, but it was like very freeing for me to be like, hey, listen, I am actually terrified. And especially going into that second and third surgery, I was so much more alert. Like my body wasn't poisoned at that time. Like it was like the poison of my brain almost. Like I couldn't even think before that first surgery. And I think after coming out of that, I was just like, oh, I'm terrified now. Now I got to go back and do this 2 more times. And what if I don't come out? And then you get all these fears and the what ifs coming back in. And honestly, I found my faith probably for the first time. I'd been going, church on Sunday since I was a kid, but I don't think I ever really like surrendered anything or ever had a relationship with God. It was just you go through the motions, and when you're at your lowest point, you either take his hand or you'll see on the other side. So it was kind of that moment for me, and I just never wanted to forget that, and I still don't. I keep that very top of mind, even 5 years later. So.
Wow. So is that really, then after that, after the third surgery and you got healthy, what did life look like? I mean, what did you change? How did you make those changes?
I feel like little by little, it was very, very gradual. I came out, I remember like in between, I was trying to think of when I started really like writing. I created a blog, I think like after maybe in between that second and third surgery. Because I remember there's a story in the book about the one post that I named my stoma Stanley. Because how I cope with things is through humor. And so
That's all right.
we had Stanley the stoma. And so it was like prior to my last surgery, I had written like a farewell to Stanley. And so I had the blog at that time. So, I mean, it was such a blur in between those times. But I remember just waking up so clear-headed and being like, you are not using your gifts that you were given to be in. We're all given to be in relationship with one another, but there is something he put in me that's like, you need to be with people. You need to help others. I wasn't doing that for any other purpose than to advance my career or to, for more selfish ambition, really. And not really to serve others. And so it was just a click. I can't even explain it other than just making the choice to react to a situation with a positive perspective and a gained perspective, really. I was like walking with like a blurred vision prior, it seemed. And then everything just since then has been so clear. So
That's amazing.
Yeah.
You mentioned how you had this version of yourself that felt kind of created by what people wanted you to be. And I think that so many of us women can relate to that.
Yeah.
Speak to kind of what that looked like versus what you see now.
Yeah. I wholeheartedly know I was not in competition with myself. It was with everybody else. It was titles and pay. And I mean, it was everything. And it's so wild. And even switching to my career now, with Bio Girls, that's been 2 years, but it took me like 6 months to like, I would say things like, yeah, I took a pay cut, but like, I'm really doing what I love now. Like nobody asked you that. Nobody asked you, oh, you must like, you're probably not getting paid or something.
Right.
And they pay very fairly, but it was my ego. Like I slowly over time, it was chipped down to where it should be, which is, I felt like I was constantly comparing myself to somebody else's success. And once I realized that somebody else's success should be an inspiration instead of like something where you're taking yourself down, like you really do have to have that mentality. And trust me, I still struggle with it from time to time, as we all likely do. We all have that person in your mind that you're probably thinking, you're like, God, they're just a trigger for me. Or, creating boundaries around those people, but also looking at yourself, really doing the work. And why is that bothering you? Why does it matter? Those are like the questions where it's like, oh, I didn't get invited. Why does it matter? I didn't get that promotion. Why does it matter? And don't look at that person as like the negative piece. Look inward and say, why do you care? And so it was just little by little, just really being aware. It was a lot of self-awareness work that went in just kind of every single day. I think over probably a year period where I really started getting my gears going in like what direction I should be going. But it was just a perspective shift.
I love that why do you care or why does it matter question. It's something so simple that you could always ask yourself, but we never do because you never think about it like that.
Yes.
So I really like that you said that.
Yeah.
And then going back to when you talked about positive perspective, how do you create that for yourself? I mean, even though life is challenging every now and then, how do you continue to stay positive?
Well, two things that I already touched on really is honest to God, remembering the worst. Like a lot of people want to push it down, not talk about it, never want to think about that again, which rightfully so. There's a lot of worse things that have happened to people than I've gone through, and things that just don't make sense and are just plain horrible, really. And your brain just wants to forget those things. I want to do the opposite and have it so front of mind that I know that compared to that, I'm doing okay, and so I really do think that is something we all could learn. There's a guaranteed a lesson that we've all learned in some point of our lives, and if not, you will, that we just forget the reasons why we wanted to change so quickly. So I like to keep those top of mind always. And then again, I just think it's a choice. All of our struggles can be different, some worse than others, but every single one of us become equal when we have a choice to make, whether to see the positive in it or to pity, blame, anger. And I did all of those things. Do not get me wrong. I did all those things. It was almost like God was like, are you done now? And it was like that moment of like, fine, I'm done, And then it was like, okay, can we go the right way now? And it was like, he let me get that all out. And I always think, even like career-wise, there were jobs. I think my biggest like thing that I've always done is I've always been intuitive and always followed my gut since I was a kid. And my mom, she's like the opposite. She's like, but what if this goes wrong? Or she's a mom, she's like, but guard your heart, guard yourself. Like, and I was always just like, well, I think this is right, so I'm going to do it. And not always is not always worked out, but it always was a silver lining. There was always a reason. Like even the promotion I took at my last role, if I hadn't taken that, there's no way I wouldn't have jumped so quick to this opportunity that was so clear. Because I did not enjoy that job, did not enjoy that position. So I think even moving into those roles that maybe don't work out, or making a decision on a boyfriend or whatever that is, and it doesn't work out, there are reasons behind everything. And I really do believe that. It just takes time. Yeah.
I love that. I think people are so scared of making the wrong decision that sometimes you just won't make a decision at all.
It's like analysis paralysis.
Yes.
Exactly. That's my husband.
Yeah.
And I know he won't watch this. So,
so we can call him out.
He's over the interviews, but he'll even say it. It's like he'll think and think and think until it's past. And I'm like the opposite. That's why we work well together.
Just balance each other.
Yes. I'm like, oh, that's a sign. He's like, not everything's a sign. Always like, it's not a sign. I swear. I'm like, yes, it is.
I can justify it some way. Yeah.
I usually win most of those, but at times I'm like, okay, you're right. Like I need to slow down, So we're a good mix, but it's always got me where it needs to go. So
yeah, it always does work out.
It does.
And I love that you bring up your husband, because I think anytime someone's going through such a difficult struggle, whatever that looks like, sometimes I think it's so hard for people who aren't in that position. How do they best support that individual?
Oh my gosh.
How were you supported, and how did you want to be supported?
Oh, that's a great question. He deserves all the credit for, and some other people too in my life, but for staying steady. He's always steady. He's most of the time calm. He stayed very positive. Never once did I feel like him taking Dawson home every night and having to single parent basically for months straight, never felt like that was a burden to him. He came into my, there's like a Facebook group that I found for ulcerative colitis. Like right after I was like, okay, I need, I don't know anybody that has it. Yeah. I need to find people that are dealing with it. I don't always recommend that because it is a very much like blame game in a lot of those. Like it's very, the perspective shift is not there for a lot of those support groups. But it was super helpful, and he joined it, and I saw him post in there, and I didn't know. And he said, my wife has been diagnosed. I don't know what to do. And he was like down on his knees, almost like, help me, help her. And it was, very humbling, to see him want to support. And he did through and through. He supported me through life or death, It was a testament. I mean, we've been together since we've been in high school. So and prior to that, we went through some infertility stuff, which really, brought us even closer, just as far as, that was the first true challenge we faced. We were both lucky to grow up in good homes and good schools, and, didn't really have those major challenges. Felt like a very privileged life up until, going through some of these difficult times. But nobody really knows how to help the support person either.
Yeah.
I think it was maybe a year afterwards, we were at a Bison game. We were out with some friends, and one of our friends looked at Taylor, my husband, and said, "What were you thinking during this time with all this?" And he said, "I thought she was going to die." And I had never heard him say that. I honestly, even through it all, I don't even think that was something I even thought was I mean, I might have had fears about it, but I never like actually was like, I'm going to die, you know? And so hearing him say that, and then me realizing, gosh, I was not there for you at all.
Yeah.
Like I wasn't even putting his feelings into play at all. It was like, how am I going to get through this? And it was never, how are you coping? You know? So if anybody is going through stuff and you are there for somebody that's the support person, that will go leaps and bounds for sure. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy, honestly. I
Yeah.
mean, it's just, it's hard to think about.
It is.
You know?
Yeah.
But you guys obviously both prevailed. And there's so many great things now to come about. You know, kind of talking about what you're currently doing in your career. What are some of your proudest moments and things that you've experienced?
I think, honestly, so there's a story in there about, I really started like manifesting and praying hard about every decision that I would make. And really at the time I thought I was manifesting, but I totally was praying, and I was not used to like, there's really no difference there. You know what I mean? And so at that time I was reading a book called Super Attractor, by Gabby Bernstein. And she is very like, she teaches you to, if you're wavering between something or you need an answer on a direction you should go, ask for a very specific sign. And I asked for a purple lotus. Purple is the color of ulcerative colitis. Lotus flower became my symbol after going through this, as it only grows in the mud in the thick of struggle. And so I was like, all right, I know this is not the right path. I was still in my corporate job. If I'm supposed to be doing something else, just give me that sign. And it was not even a week later. I was at a meeting and met some gals at the table, and I wanted to partner with them on our service project for Bio Girls. I was mentoring at the time, and she goes, I go, just give me your card. She gave me her card, and it was a purple lotus flower.
No way.
Yes. And then a week later, Missy, the founder of Bio Girls, called me. We went to coffee, and she said, what would it take for you to come work for us?
I have chills.
Yeah,
Same.
it was insane.
That is
That's
wild.
insane.
And I have it here now, so.
As you should.
Yes,
I
Yes.
love
It's
that.
just crazy. And it's on the book. I mean, it just became my
Now that you
full,
said
yes.
that, yes.
It makes
Wow.
so much sense. And I'm pretty sure Kelsey Buell was recommended that book. She has a podcast.
I recommended that to her. Full circle.
That's what I thought.
Yes,
We posted,
it's
yes.
so
Yes,
good.
she has recommended that book. And do you know what's crazy is my boss, who just took a new leap, literally did the same thing.
You're kidding.
Same story.
Oh
like
my
she was
gosh.
like, just show me a butterfly.
Oh.
And they were everywhere.
Oh.
And it was like,
That's
That gave me
amazing.
chills.
it's really, it's so cool that this is something that other people do and
Yes.
practice, because
Yeah.
you hear about manifesting all the
Yes.
time, and you hear about, you know,
And it sounds like voodoo.
Yes.
Or like, and honestly, I must talk to my husband a lot. I must talk a lot in general. But I said to him, I was like, just think 5 years ago, because I was speaking at a Disrupt HR, and I was talking about how I started making small shifts. But, and again, when we were talking about it, and I couldn't pinpoint like one thing. And it just was really these small changes of just awareness. But I hadn't read a single like self-development book in my entire life until I came out of that illness. Like I had never tried to like become a better person. Like I'm not kidding. It was like, and now I cannot get enough of, digging deeper into my faith and wanting to do better, be better, serve others. Like I didn't do those things. It was not in my life. I was not a bad person. I wasn't doing bad things. It just was, I was not living up to that potential that I was born to be, And so it was just little by little, and just being open-minded for the first time, really. So
That is so cool.
yeah.
So how do you think people can get to that? Like, how can you discover your truest self, really? Or, I don't know. I'm selfishly asking for myself.
asking for a friend.
Asking for a friend.
You know, I don't want to say, like, I don't want people to have to go through a hard, like, I want
Right.
my nightmare to be somebody else's, like, wake-up call. You know, I want that to be something they can learn before they experience something difficult, because we all will, and we all likely have. But I think something that really stuck with me, Simon Sinek, I don't know if you know him.
Recognize that.
There's a thing where he said to ask your best friend, one of your best friends, why are we friends? And not just like, oh, you're funny, or you're a good time, or
Yeah.
you like to party, you know, like just like surface level, like really, why are we friends? And especially if you've had this friend for a long time. So a long time friend. And I did that, and I asked my best friend, she's been a friend of mine since, gosh, I think it was a sophomore or junior. And everything she said, I was now living. Like, it was, if I could flash back to where I was at in like corporate and pre-diagnosis, I would not have been living in that. Like, things she said were like, really good in relationship. You draw a crowd, your magnetic like aura, like people just want to be around you. And before, like, that wouldn't have made any sense in what I was doing and what my ambitions were, and how I was spending my time was not in line with those. And so when I asked her that and I got those back, I mean, I cried. It was much more beautifully said and really long, really long. But I was like, I am in the right place. And so I feel like if you can talk to the people closest to you and ask them that question and really align, look at what you're doing, what you're spending your time on, and see if you align with that person that they see that you are. And a lot of times we are misaligned from that. We might be that person with them, but are you that when you're alone? Are you that when you're with your family, with your coworkers, in the community? I think it's a good self-check. Yeah.
I love that.
That's
That's
powerful.
a great like practice that I think anyone could easily do and discover, because it's hard to analyze yourself.
Yes. Oh, it totally is.
And it's hard to know, is this true? Am I just,
yes, somebody you
confused?
totally trust.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Paige will talk.
Yeah. I want an essay by the end of the week.
I was going to say, okay, Saray. No, just
All right, lay it on me. Well, your friend probably mentioned that you're incredible with words. And if she didn't, you are. I mean,
Well, thank
you're
you.
incredible with words. And we actually have something regarding that later in the
boy.
episode.
Okay.
But I want to talk about the book because I think it's such a cool accomplishment and it's so different. There's not a lot of people that can say that. So tell us about Battle to Break Through, why it's named that, and what people can expect in there.
Oh my gosh. I went through a lot of different like titles that I was playing. I had post-traumatic growth because I felt like that was really how it summed up. Like, like I said, I was never doing anything to grow as a person. A traumatic event anyway, but then I was like, I was going to get too scientific and I don't have that backup. That's not my game. Let's just be honest. Like very generic with like turning pain into purpose. But it's a lot overdone. And then, I just felt like when I was digging into it, I was like, I really feel like I had a breakthrough. And now I feel like I can be a breakthrough for somebody else. And so, it kind of just came up with Battle to Break Through, taking the hard parts of our lives and coming through the other side, again, not only for us, but for others. And I think the first time I kind of stumbled on really sharing my story outside of some podcasts. I applied for a Women Connect in town through our chamber, forgot that I did. And then I'm not kidding, it was like 4 months later, I got a letter in the mail and was like, you are speaking on this date. And it was the day before our gala for Bio Girls. And I was like, I'm sorry, that's not gonna work. And then I look in the like chamber newsletter and it's already printed. I'm like, well, here we are. I guess we're going.
Committed.
And I was like, could I get my application back? Because I don't remember what I said I was talking about. I'm not kidding. It was wild. But I spoke for the first time, and something that's probably like people wouldn't think about me is I get nervous to speak.
Do you?
I like to talk, but I get nervous to speak.
Wow.
And so that day, I mean, that whole month leading up to it, I was just terrified. But that day I was very calm. It was very weird. It was like calm, no shaking. Normally I'd be literally like physically shaking. And I got up there and I just told it as it was. And I, for the first time, had random strangers in that room later emailing me and messaging me, my husband has this disease. I have this disease. I went through infertility. I am in the waiting season. And it was like one after another. I was like, this is why. And so like those doors that just continue to open, you just need to walk through and you will be that for somebody else. And so I actually did that speech before I wrote it. So that was a year ago now. And then my friend Macy that I work with, I sent her one of my notes that popped up as a memory from when I was sick that I used to type to my husband. And she was like, you need to write a book. And that was in like, I think January of 2022. Yeah, it's still this year. Yeah, okay. So she sent me that and I went back and in my notes again, I probably have 1,000 notes. And I had like 5-year goals. This must have been after my third surgery or something. I had all these dreams and ambitions, like have a women's retreat and bring people together and find volunteers. And it was like, I was like, okay, I did a couple of these things. And then it was like, write a book. And I didn't even remember that I had that. I was like, I never thought about it again. It just was kind of gone. And it was 4 years at that time. And it was a 5-year plan. I was like, all right, well, here we go. We're going.
I got a year to make this happen.
And so February of just this year, I started writing and it was like an outer body experience. It was February to May, I wrote it and had a editor.
Wow, that's quick.
Published in June. Yeah, it was crazy.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That is just wild. Like, literally everything was almost there before you knew it was.
Yeah.
And the more I continue to just let go and really just surrender like to his plan. It's like your will, not mine, yours. It's like one thing after the next. And it's like a lot with like human connection. It's like I met, like, for instance, my son's soccer coach, Michael Bloom, he's an officer, or he was an officer in town here. He coached our kids' soccer team this last spring. And I had known he was working with this other guy with this foster community. And I was like, oh, we were talking about foster care. And then that's where I said, oh, is this a sign? And my husband said, it's not a sign. We are good with 2 right now. We got our hands full. We're fine. But then fast forward, then him and I are meeting and I'm helping him with what he's doing. He's helping me. Now I'm going to go in and hopefully help with his hip hop and hope in the juvenile detention and things that I just never, ever would have thought would be in my path. And it just seems to be. And now we're doing these like compassion retreats together. We both met this same person and we both found out we were doing this together through an email. And I'm like, wait, you're on this too? And it's just like those people that he just strategically places in my life. And it's like, oh, there's why. It's just been, it just continues to be wide open. So, yeah.
Wow. Just like all of the goals that you wrote down all make sense.
Yes.
You know,
and they didn't
all, like,
then really.
fit
It was,
together.
yeah.
Wow. And then you look at it, because that was 5 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We still got to have that women's conference, so maybe
Okay.
Well, there's still time.
let's just speak it into existence.
What were some of the other goals on that list?
Oh my gosh, I think I know one, and this is going to make no sense because I still don't know what it means. It said, make my first dollar.
Hey!
And I don't know if I was like, maybe I want to like not work for somebody else and make something out of, I don't know. But that was on there. I'm not sure what that means. I did get paid to speak this year for the first time, so maybe that was it.
There you go.
I don't know.
That's great.
Very odd things, but it was all about like bringing people together, serving others, writing. And now, it just kind of slowly just came into, and it was never like I was running after it, you know, which I love the most because I feel like I did my entire first 10, 15 years of career was just hustle, run. And then at the end of the day, it was, again, for what?
Right.
Why does it matter? And those things were not, I couldn't give a good answer. They didn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
So.
So talking a little bit again, real quick about goal setting,
Mm-hmm.
what do you think is the best way for, people of all ages to set goals? I mean, obviously, a lot of people talk about SMART goals, but what's your advice on that?
Well, I will be speaking on this at a women's goal setting summit coming up in January. I think it's the 13th.
Is that through the chamber?
It's You Flourish Company.
Oh, yeah.
And I am
Kelsey.
Yes.
so sad. I can't go to this because it's over college nationals for NDSU, and I have been looking forward to that
Yes, it's gonna be
and then when I saw your
fun.
name on it, I was like, no.
Oh,
I
it'll be
think
so
I'm
fun.
gonna sign up for it.
You
Yes,
should.
it's
Dave.
awesome.
You should.
Yes.
I think I would love it.
Yep, it'll
Yeah.
be at the Avalon this year. They're just doing incredible things. Definitely have to check that out. But I think just this last year, so I went to their summit last year, and nothing seemed to make sense to me. It was like the first time where I could not pinpoint. I'm like, what do I want to do? Like, what do I want to accomplish? None of those things were making sense. And so during, they had a workshop, and you got time to actually do the work instead of just listen, throw it in the back seat, forget about it. And so I just kept coming back to, who do I want to be? And so I just was like, okay, what are the areas of my life? So spiritually, family, career, community. And so I was like, who do I want to be in those places in my life? I want to be more consistent with, reading scripture. So what do I need to do to be that person? I want to be a mom who is present with my kids. What do I need to do or say no to that's going to make me be present? And so I started shifting that, and even in work, sometimes in development, which at the end of the day is fundraising. It can get grueling for somebody in my career. I have yet to say that that's happened to me, but I know that it could. And so really diving into why and who I want to be for this mission really helped me, just saying, I'm bringing this opportunity to other people to be a part of something. It really helped me focus on the bringing people together for one cause rather than we need your money, and so when you boil your goals down to who I want to be, and then what are the things I need to do to be that person, it becomes a lot more purposeful rather than selfish, like I've been doing. And again, why does it matter? I want to be someone who continues to share my story to help others. What do I need to do? I need to write a book. I need to be vulnerable. I need to talk about it. And so when you're doing those things, it doesn't become about you. It becomes about the person you want to be for others. And that really helped me. Yeah.
You are so good. Oh my God.
I knew you were going to be like this. I knew this was going to be killer. And I think something you do so well is you are so authentic. And I think that's something that I have really been just more aware of in this past year personally, is how to kind of separate from what you want to be perceived as and who you just truly are down to your core.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear kind of how because I think when setting those goals, all those goals matter to you and they're your goals personally. Whereas I think of, sometimes if I write goals, I do write goals that probably actually matter to somebody else, but since they matter to someone else, they matter to me.
Right.
That's literally what I would say. I feel like for a long time in my life, and so many others that I see all the time now, even I'm so aware of it now, where I can kind of pinpoint others that are falling in there.
Yeah.
But it seems like people are running after other people's dreams.
Yeah.
And it's like, do I even want to do that? Or do I just need to do that because she did that? And there was this quote, and I don't know who said it. I'm really bad. I bet I've said that a million times. So they can quote me on that. But it was something where it was, oh gosh, what did it say? Isn't it nice to know that you can't be like it? Or it said something like, how comforting to know that if you try to be somebody else, you'll be the second best version. So you might as well be yourself. It was something along those lines.
Love that.
And it's if you just try and try and try to follow the footsteps of somebody else so closely, you're never going to leave a unique imprint. You're always going to be second best. It's just be your own person. And if that isn't freeing, then you got to do a lot more self-awareness work, because if you really boil that down and I want to be just like Saray, well, then I'm going to be the second best Saray. And so what is that? That's my goal.
Yeah.
And if you just, I mean, everybody has different gifts. And so they're all useful, but just tap into what you're here for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And taking time to think about that.
Yes.
Like I'm listening to you speak and I'm like, I don't think I've actually taken time to think about those things. And we live in a world of so much saturation of influence that it's really difficult to not be affected by outside, you know, examples, outside versions of what you could be. There's a lot of options. I think
that when I'm posting or when I'm even sharing, like on my story, I'm like, sometimes I even get to the point where I'm about to press like share to story, and I'm like, why would I post that right now? Are you like saying that to someone? Like, what is the overarching? And so like I constantly feel like I'm asking myself why, or why does it matter, or why do you need, so I mean, and that's just been in the last year probably. I've become very aware of, I just feel like the best advice we all could have is just to live a life that feels better than it looks. And it's like,
I love that.
Put it on a t-shirt.
Seriously, we should put that on a t-shirt. It's just, it seems like everything is just surface level and my life looks perfect. Even when people are sharing the bad things, it still seems like some people just don't get it. And I just wish that everybody could feel like they're worthy outside of a like. You know, how many thumbs up are you going to get from somebody until you walk through the door you're supposed to walk through? Like, why are you so waiting and wishing for others' approval to do the things that you're already meant to be doing? You already know the answer, but we're waiting for somebody to like it until we pull the trigger.
And just the whole acceptance thing too, wanting so badly to fit in and be accepted, and social media is the killer of all joy. It really is.
It really is.
And Missy talked a lot about that when we had her on, and I'm just getting flashbacks of that.
Yes. And I'm, like I said, I'm 35, and I didn't have that in high school. It was just coming out when I was in college. Actually, I think I got like a fake college email to sign into Facebook because you had to have a college email at the time.
You little rule breaker.
Yeah, I know, just rebellion. But I mean, it was all like, just like, Karli is feeling like, it was like just a status update. So it was it wasn't
bare
even
bones.
close. And that was at such a transformative time in my life of finding, oh my gosh, my way. And I did not find my way for a while. I cannot imagine what that would have done for me in that time. Like, I honestly can't picture where my path would be now, to be honest. I don't know. I think I would have got sucked into, I don't feel like my confidence was at a level that would have been able to do that well. And I feel for them, because there can be a lot of positive voices, but for every positive voice, there's a million negative images that you're seeing and comparing yourself to. So it's an uphill battle that we're all going to be facing with these next generations, for sure.
Yeah, it is. Speaking of next generations, I mean, we have interviewed Missy, and we've had such a great opportunity to learn about Bio Girls, and everyone should go listen to that episode if they haven't. But I'd love to hear what advice you specifically have for young women facing struggles or just navigating life. What one piece of advice would have...
Young women?
Yeah.
Okay. I think, honestly, if I ever... I can catch myself often, but I still slip into it as I am human. But if I'm ever telling myself a negative story about myself, or feeling less than for some reason, I feel like if I can flip the script and say, would you say that to somebody you loved? Or would you say that to second grade Karli? The things that you're telling yourself now out loud. Would you physically actually say that to a second grade Karli right now? No, you wouldn't, because nobody should hear those things, especially from yourself. And so I feel like if you can ask yourself those questions, and when you slip into that oh, I'm not invited and I'm not good enough and I can never be like that. Would you say, Karli, you could never be like that, so why are you trying? No, you wouldn't. You wouldn't tell your younger self that, or you wouldn't tell somebody you really loved that. And so if we can treat ourselves like that second grade version of ourselves, then I feel like that is a home run.
I love that.
Me too. I need to do that more often.
Yeah, I think we all do. Honestly,
Yeah.
it's the amount of thoughts we have per day. Guarantee you we are constantly in need of self-check for sure.
There's a lot of negative ones.
Yep.
I don't know if we've ever talked about it on the podcast or if I just have seen it elsewhere, but I know there's a trend of sticking a photo of
I was going to
yourself
bring that up. I've seen it on
like,
TikTok.
Yes.
your second grade
And like put
picture,
it on your mirror.
put it on your mirror, and just remember, like,
oh my gosh, it's so true.
Yeah.
I've only seen it once. I must not be trendy, but that is like exactly
Yeah.
it. And it's like I mean, I know there's like the back and forth of affirmations, and sometimes I'm like, I think it was, it's a title that has a swear word in it, but there was something where it was like, if you need to tell yourself, I am happy, you're not happy.
Right.
So like, I go back and forth with this, like, I am, or I am. And I'm more like, I like to say like, I can, cause that's just me personally. And so I feel like, writing those things, like I lead with love. I have like some things on my mirror. And so to that point, like putting those things where you have to believe it.
exactly.
Yeah.
And so you can't just write things and say things that you don't believe. And so, but can you be that person? Can you do better? Yes, you can. So like, I feel like it's just reframing some of those things.
Absolutely. We did a podcast interview with Maddie Novacek, and she talks in detail about that specifically, and it's so fascinating to hear, like, how you can't...
Does she have the opposite of what
No,
I said?
exactly
Okay.
what you said,
Okay.
about how you can't lie to yourself.
Yes.
You can't tell yourself that you're this when deep down
Yes.
you know that you aren't,
Yes.
but just finding ways to... Exactly what you
Yeah.
said, reframe it. So that is a whole episode
Oh my
we could
gosh,
dive into
seriously, I
if you
should,
wanted
because
to get...
it's like that. Well, we have, I should dig into that because we have our Bio Girls teen program now. And so we did a
you need to
whole
speak
module.
on that, because this
Yes.
is new
Yes.
to Cup of Queens. We did not
Yes.
hear
Oh,
about
yeah,
this
'cause
last that Missy was on.
So we have piloted two of our modules so far, the body esteem. And so we're kind of reframing it a little different. So our youth program is 12 weeks long for 2nd to 6th grade. And then our teenage program is like I think it's 2 or 4 weeks. We're still in the pilot and I'm not really in charge of it. But they did a body esteem, which is one of the biggest problems, that our girls are facing. And a lot of it is because of social media and Photoshop and Facetune and all of these things where they're comparing to not even a real object and making themselves wish they were somebody else. That's like one of the biggest things we're finding out even from our 2nd to 6th graders at the beginning of our program is a high percentage are saying, I wish I was somebody else. Luckily, towards the end of our program, we survey them again, and that significantly decreases, which is amazing. But you think of somebody who's having poor self-esteem with their body, and you can't just say, well, I'm skinny now. I'm thin now. I am thin. I can get healthier.
Yeah.
What do I need to do to get healthy? Like, it's these reframing situations that I really do feel like need to be in school.
Yes.
But, for now, we'll just chip away at Bio Girls.
Keep offering it at Bio Girls.
Yeah, it is. It's amazing. So we're right in the middle of our mental health module right now, and it's going really well. Getting really, really good feedback, positive, I think 100% feedback from these girls in this last module. So, and we'll even have a faith one as well.
That's incredible.
That we're hoping to roll out this summer.
So that one's new then?
Yep. So
Cool.
we're going to do it a little differently, and I don't think this information is out, so I don't think I can say how. But we're going to do something pretty awesome. I think hopefully in that June timeframe to help with the faith in our teens too, in a way that makes sense and that's relevant. And
I love that.
yeah.
Well, everybody keep an eye out because that's super exciting.
It is. It's awesome.
I think it's time for the game.
It's time for the game. I'm so excited.
This was not in the pre.
I know. We couldn't prepare. Here's
Oh,
the thing.
gosh.
You are just naturally prepped that we had to throw you off your kilter a little bit here.
And you're going to be great.
You're going to be great. You've already actually kind of dove into this game unknowingly.
I know. I feel like you've already kind of answered some of these, but we're just going to recap.
Okay, well, I might be repetitive then.
No, it'll be, and if you are, that's okay, because...
Is this like a timed?
No, not timed.
I was like, okay,
10 seconds. No.
Seriously.
Not timed at all. So it's called Karli's Cup.
Ooh.
And we want you to fill us with your wisdom, specifically the words that you have. And you've mentioned a lot of quotes already and a lot of mantras. And this is so great because we were really hoping, I was like, we know she's got some good mantras and quotes that have gotten her through.
Because you're a writer, so we're like,
you're a writer, you're a speaker. Right. So we have a handful of words that we're going to give you. And if you have a mantra or a quote or truly even just a sentence that you feel like encapsulates that word and ties it nicely with a bow, that's what we want to hear.
Okay.
Make sense?
Yep.
Okay.
all right.
All right, who's going?
Okay, first one is challenge.
Challenge accepted.
Amen.
Love it.
Yes. Challenge accepted. I love that. All right. Next one is hope.
Hope.
And you don't have to use the word within your phrase.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know what to say for this one. Hope. I mean, without hope, we don't have anything. Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah. Okay, growth.
Oh, I think we touched on this a lot. If you're not growing, what are you doing? I mean, there was, here's a quote. Somebody had said something at a leadership conference that I went to that said, God will accept you as you are, but he doesn't want you to stay the same. Yeah. And so I was like, that makes so much sense. And a lot of times you're like, well, he's just accepting and this is just who I am, but he doesn't want us to stay the same and stay in status quo. And so, yeah, I love that.
That's a great one.
That's really great.
Gosh, I knew you'd be good at this one. All right, next one. Support.
Oh, support. I mean, all I can say is if you know somebody that's going through something challenging, support them in a way. Don't ask them, do they need anything? Give them two options. I'm either going to bring over food or I'm going to do this. Which would you prefer? Because it's a lot of times we don't accept the help. And I was also that person. The amount of people who supported me out of the woodworks. I mean, people I hadn't seen in a decade were dropping off food gift cards and helping with my son and all of these things where I was like, I need to do better for others. I don't think I did any of that prior. And so I would just say give them options and don't take no for an answer.
I love that.
Me too. Yeah. All right. Celebrate.
Oh, celebrate everything. I just think we don't, especially as women, celebrate our successes and our things we're proud of. It's like that fine line of we want to be in humility, but we also, we can be proud of things that, you know, we're doing or bringing together. And I think we don't celebrate ourselves enough.
100%.
Amen to that.
Yeah. All right, last one. Perseverance.
Oh, I feel like this goes right along with resilience, and I don't know that can be taught. And I just think it's all in your mindset of being resilient and persevering through difficult times. And we all have the choice to do that. And so shifting that mindset to be one of a positive narrative will get you to that route. Yeah.
Look at you. These were all no prep, nothing. We
so
totally
good.
just threw her into that.
I think they could tell.
No, you
my
absolutely
gosh.
killed that.
Okay, so we have one final question, which is super fun. We always ask our guests, what does a queen mean to you?
I think a queen to me is being unapologetically yourself and living on purpose.
Living on purpose. I love that. Okay, we got a couple of shirt sayings that I think
we
from this episode.
Get a little rewind here. And
yeah, literally. Everyone take notes. Pat and that before anyone else does.
I love it.
But seriously, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Plug away. Tell all of our listeners where they can find you, connect, and get involved with BioGirls and
Yes.
everything else that you're doing.
I am on social with both BioGirls and myself, Karli Moch. And then I have a website, karlimoch.com, where you can find out about the book. It's on Amazon. It's also, if you're local here in Fargo, it's at Vintage Point in Fargo. Awesome store. Great for the holidays. It's like, oh my gosh, it's amazing. And then also biogirls.org is where you can find all the things of how you can get involved, get your kiddo in the program and all the things. So.
Amazing.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, we'll link all that. Cheers to you.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Thank you.